something you would never hide, bright as the sun, something you would never hide, clear as the moon. It's the hardest living thing you would never try to change a feeling inside. One thing you could never hide, hard as the ground. One thing you could never hide, deep as the sea. It's the strongest living thing you would never try to change a feeling inside. When it's true and timeless, coming from your heart, it may take a long, long way, but you won't be alone. That was a song by today's guest. His name is Gilles Sonsino. He's someone who I met at an online open mic, and at the beginning this just felt like Zach's old friends from Montreal show, but now I'm starting to meet some new people, even if it's not in ideal conditions. So Gilles is from Sao Paulo, but he writes songs that sound, very familiar to me. I tell him in the interview they're a combination of Cat Stevens and Death Cab for Cutie. And though there's a little bit of that sad air to them, I don't think it's a genuine sadness. It's more of a spiritual, mystical, passes for sadness but isn't kind of thing. Gilles tells me in the interview that his songs are not ones that he maybe wants to put into too many words because they're capturing the beauty that is art. It's art about art, and it's this infinite loop into beauty and joy, a loop that took him in a journey through England. He made a making of video for his album where he wonderfully places his songs as he's traveling across the country. Anyway, he'll tell you all this in the interview. I hope you like Gilles. Very friendly guy. Would love to talk to him more again in future. Here he is. So Gilles, welcome to the program. I think a good way to start this discussion would be to make it a conversation about the artist's journey. So I actually, for the first time, had a friend on last week who wasn't a musician, but I was just interested in how he's pursuing being a screenwriter. And you're clearly very serious about your pursuit. You came out with an album, The Past, the Present, and the Future, and you made a 50-minute sort of making of the album thing. So tell me about that whole process. You went to England. What's the motivation there?
Hey, Zach, first of all, thanks for having me here. It's a great pleasure being able to talk about my music and my work. And you're right, man. I tend to pursue music as something that, it makes sense for me, as something that I want to, just share with the world, the way I think and the way, my music just, it just is, it's something that really comes from my heart. And yeah, I went to England in 2018. I think it was on September. Yeah, it was in September. And I just had the idea of going to a residential recording studio there, where I could just disconnect from the whole world and just stay in the nature with this beautiful scene as you've seen in the documentary. And it was an amazing experience for me. I just I was trying to find a place where I could really focus on my music, so that's why I went there. And I was the guy there, his name is Ed Lewis. He's also the co-producer of my album. And he's a guy with such a big heart, and he was really receptive since the first moment. And the idea of recording this whole trip was something very organic, because I've never been to England before that moment. So it was my first time in Europe, in the UK. And I really wanted to capture the moment that I was, just discovering everything there. So, I'm walking the street. So, oh man, this is something here. And this is the place where the band, whatever, made something here. So it was a very organic experience for me, and being able to share it with the world was something else. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, it was actually really joyful for me because I was in England a couple summers ago. My parents were staying in Oxford. I went to visit them, and that's nothing to complain about. Oxford was an amazing place, but I really wanted first to see Liverpool, and then I decided that was too far. So I tried London, and in order to squeeze it in this very short trip, I basically spent 4 hours running around London, trying to see various Beatles and David Bowie tourism things.
Nice.
You seem to get more time there. Did you get to do any kinds of music tourism?
Yeah, let me just make a point, because I went actually to Wales to record the album in a
Right.
very small village, which is called, in Welsh, it's called Slamadan Vanaf, and it's a place, really really small with 300 people. I was the 300 and number one there. I was from outside, but yeah, I am a huge fan of music. Just like you did, I went to London. I stayed there for 2 weeks, and no, actually, I stayed in London for maybe 10 days, I think. And I went to see a lot of places, historical places, David Bowie place where one of his artworks of his albums were, just pictured, and the guy just
So
drawn
the
in.
big Aladdin Sane mural, like the
I
lightning
don't
bolt
remember.
one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it's in the Mayfair district zone,
Yeah. Okay.
So I went there. I went to Camden Town because I'm a huge fan of punk rock, and I went to a place where the Clash first album artwork was
Mm.
shot there. It was a photograph of them in a stairway, and they were just posing to the camera, and it was very very meaningful for me to go there and see these places. Also, the Beatles places, the place where Paul McCartney he is reading yesterday. It was his girlfriend's house, and he was staying there for a couple of days, and had a dream with yesterday. And I went to that place in Marylebone. So, and every corner in London, there's some historical thing that you can just recall, and it's just amazing.
That's amazing. Because I was rushing, all I got to do was go to Abbey Road, and I spent half that time thinking I was at the right crosswalk, and I wasn't. I know
Oh, you,
I'm
you
from.
weren't in the right place. Sorry. You didn't get to the right place. You got
Oh,
off,
I did
right?
eventually because I found the gift
Oh,
shop, but before
perfect,
I knew
perfect.
there was a gift shop, I kept thinking, "Is this the crosswalk? Is it this next
Yeah.
one?" Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. So you mentioned punk, and I've noticed from your past performances, you tend to have a Sex Pistols poster in the background. Did you get to see
exactly.
anything related to them?
Oh, I went to a place called, let me learn. Oh, I think it was Denmark Street. Yeah, it was Denmark Street, a
Mm.
place, just very small street there, where there's a lot of music stores there and musical instrument stores. And in the past, in the 60s and in the 70s, it was very famous as the Tin Pan Alley, and there was some offices there from writers and people from the music industry, and also the studios where they recorded Nevermind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols, their only album. And yeah, I got there. I went, just staring at this place. Oh man, I'm a couple of meters away from the place where the Pistols recorded the album. So it was
Right.
fantastic.
Yeah. So despite those influences, the album you made yourself, it's very much not punk. I don't know. I describe it as maybe Cat Stevens meets Death Cab for Cutie. It's
I'm very
kind
honored,
of
man.
morbid. So tell me why did you end up writing in that style, which isn't necessarily the style you most like to listen to?
Yeah, good question. When I started writing my songs, it in somehow it worked as a process that I was just pulling out stuff that I was feeling, and I was just going through, and it was a very very lonely process because it's just me in the album. And when I wrote the songs, it was pretty much the situation. I had my guitar in my hands, and I was playing and trying to get the vibe that I was feeling. And it got me surprised in a way that I didn't expect to play something so sweet or so sensible in knowing that I come from a punk rock background. I play in punk rock bands and rock and roll stuff, and it just ended up like this. I didn't actually in the beginning, I wasn't thinking on doing something like that. It just came out this way, and I kind of discovered this music vibe I have inside myself, trying to meet some psychedelic elements and folk elements. I love Bob Dylan, I love Cat Stevens. That's very, it's an honor for me hearing you say something like that. I like Def Cab for Cutie and a lot of bands that I started to just relate to my songs. It was something, oh yeah, man, this kind of chord progression is something close to that band that I love. It's not a punk band. So I think it ended up like that, in a natural way. But definitely it's not the music style I listen the most, but it opened a whole new world for me as a songwriter to do something different, from what I was doing with the band. I was just playing some punk rock and, just this classical rock and roll style. So it was a process very, very different for me, since the beginning.
Right. And this is something I've talked to several people about. It sounds like when you're writing songs, you're not forcing yourself to have an idea, you're letting the idea come out of you, and then maybe that's not what you'd want to write, but it ends up being better.
That's perfect. Sometimes you've been to some bad situation, or you're not in the best mood, but you end up writing songs. And I think the song, it has its power, and you cannot control it very well, because when you start to control or to change it or to try to sound it like something else, it just, in some ways, I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but in some ways, when you try to control how the song or your music come out, I think you kind of change it in a bad way, I would say. Sometimes it's just you just have to let it go, just have to pull it out and see what comes up. And sometimes you have some cool stuff, and sometimes you have something that you just hate. What I usually try to do is I write some songs, I write some lyrics, and I tend to to get some days off from it, just okay, I'll just put it that side, and I'll get back to it later. And if it still makes sense for me, if it still makes any kind of sense, or it touches me in some way, okay, so that's something I'll try to work. But it's not something that I really control. You're right about it.
Right. So again, the album's called The Past, Present, and Future. Can you tell us a bit about what that means? And then specifically, I think the catchiest song on your album is one called Never Hide. What's that one about?
Oh, nice. So the album title, it's easily saying it's just about my love about music, because I was working on a radio station. I've worked on a radio station with radio and voiceover for, since 2009. So it's been 11 years now. And when I decided to quit my job, to focus on my music and to focus on me as a self-employed guy who can really run something, and get my living out of voiceover and music, I understood how music is important to me, and how music is around and has been around and is going to be around forever. So the past and the present and the future is how meaningful music is for me since the past, when I was growing up and listening to some bands and listening to some songs that really, really made what I am today, and how music is still something so important to me. It's something that make me breathe properly, and how music is going to be in the future. I always say that I want to be an old guy playing music and playing my guitar and writing songs, forever. And so the past and the present and the future is just, a pure love expression for music, right? And Never Hide, this is a song that I wrote, and it's cool of you asking about it, because again, it's a song that it expresses my love about music in a way that sometimes it can take long, but it's going to be worth it. So there's always this thing about art and music that it's not easy, man. Are you sure? Are you right about it? Do you feel confident about making music or art? And I've always said, yeah, man, because this is something that that makes my life better, and it brings sense to everything that I do. So Never Hide is a song that clearly express, again, my love about music, but especially my love about art, my love about doing what I do. And yeah, it may take a long way, long time or anything like that, but you won't be alone. So music or art is a very, very special company for yourself. This is how I think, and this is how Never Hide came out.
Right. No, amazing. So I didn't know the detail about radio hosting. I guess, why did you choose to leave that? Do you feel like the experience of hosting on radio has maybe gotten worse over the years? I've been listening to some music radio recently, and it kind of bothers me that it feels like a lot of the DJs don't care about the songs they're playing. They're just sort of, reading the commercials and then playing the same thing that's been played again and again.
I agree with you, because there's a lot of radio stations here in Brazil that works like that, pretty much like that. They don't really care about music, or they don't really care about the new music. They just, care about the music that's going to bring them audience, bigger audiences and numbers, and as well commercials and all of that. For me, I think, I work in, it's hard to say, it didn't, it didn't lose its meaning for me, but it was working for a long, long time in the same place. It got bored in a moment that I said, oh man, I'm working here for maybe 10 years now, and with the same people and doing almost the same show, and it it lost its meaning in a way, because I was just trying to find something else, something, new adventure. I think I was really into a new adventure at that time. I love doing radio, I love doing voiceover jobs, and it's nothing really connected to the place I was before, but it was something that, I was looking for some new adventures, and music has always been the biggest adventure for me since I was a kid. And I said, okay, so now it's the time to do something professionally on music. I just got back from UK. I recorded my album there. So maybe now that I'm almost, here for 10 years in this radio station, it's time to, do something different. So it was a natural thing for me.
Right. So one of my big insecurities, I've been trying to learn, I think, so French uh, for 19 years now, and I've not made any progress. I've dabbled in Spanish, I've dabbled in Romanian. You're clearly doing quite well in your second language. I have to ask though, so why do you choose for this album? Why did you choose to write in English? Is there part of you that feels like you could have been more expressive in Portuguese? What's the reason behind that choice?
Great question, man. I think because I've listened to some bands, from especially from the UK and the USA, and well, international bands that they played in English, or they still play in English. They make music, like that. I think when I was growing up, I kind of wanted to sound like them in a way, but also because I'm very inspired by a lot of these bands. I think it was in a way just like trying to compare myself, not comparing the way, oh no, yeah, I can be like the Beatles. No, not like that. But I can play music like them. I can write my stuff. I can sound like them. And in this, in a second, way, I think my music. I don't know, man. I love Brazilian music. I love a lot of Brazilian bands. I like a lot of Brazilian movements here that we have since the past century. But I think writing in English, it kind of put myself in a far place. Uh, compared if I was writing in Portuguese, it's something like when I'm writing in Portuguese, I have this feeling that I'm being very, very and easily open about my feelings. And when I write in a different language, it kinds of make myself distant from the music, so it's easier to express myself. You understand? I think it's
Right.
something close to it, but it's natural, writing in English. Of course, I have someone who is from my family. Her name is Kimberly Bell Gonçalves. She's an American, and I always talk to her. And do you think the song is right? And is the English right here? So we change a lot of experiences and ideas. She's also a singer, and she's very connected to music in a lot of ways. So I got to have these people close to me, and also having these influences all my life. So I ended up writing English. It happens like that.
Right. So to summarize, lots of your songs are about how art is this magical, mysterious thing. So it's almost better that you're slightly less specific in English because it maintains that mystery.
Yeah, sure. I love talking about how I see the world, and how music and art makes me see the world and feel the world. So I'm not the guy who is going to talk about a specific situation I had with a girl or with someone. Oh, I lost you, and I'm not this guy. I like to write about the world, and I like to write about life. The cycles in life, and why we end up meeting people from all over the world, and why we're here. So using the English as something that brings this kind of mystery for me, because it's not my native language, associated with this the world, and how I see the world. I think it just works for me.
Yeah, excellent. And for my many listeners who won't know, are there any Brazilian artists you'd recommend?
Oh yeah, a lot of them, but I'll list three of them, right?
Sounds good.
Os Mutantes. Have you heard about Os Mutantes?
No, I to be honest, I think the only Brazilian influence song I know is the song that Paul Simon recorded in Brazil. I don't think I know any of
Oh,
your artists.
oh, no problem, no problem. So I would suggest Os Mutantes. Also, I would suggest a guy that I love a lot, which is called Tim Maia.
Mhm.
Well, he's not here anymore, but he's a guy from the funk and soul music. Os Mutantes is a band pretty much influenced by the Beatles, so rock and roll and psychedelic, and then they got progressive rock into the progressive rock. I love all of them,
Right.
albums and all of this stuff. So Os Mutantes, Tim Maia, and it's hard, but well, a singer that I love, which is called Gal Costa. She has a powerful voice, and she is someone from the '60s, and she was involved in a lot of musical movements here in Brazil, and as music, as an expression of people in a political way, as well. So yeah, Os Mutantes, Tim Maia, and Gal Costa. Great,
Excellent.
great names for you.
Well, I'll
Listen
see if
to.
any of them are in the Toronto Public Library system. I won't count on it, but I'm going to look.
Yeah,
Uh, uh,
nice.
Gilles, this has been excellent today. Do you want to play us off with a song?
Yeah, I would like to play a song that is called 1 Second. I'm not playing Never Hide now, but maybe in the future interview I could play But I'm playing a song called 1 Second. What do you think?
Sounds amazing.
Okay, so the song it was written with my cousin Kimberly, and I just got this lyric, and I showed her, and she said, "Yeah, it's nice, man." So what do you think about adding this thing to the chorus? So it kind of got political, but it wasn't political in the in its first moment. So the song's called 1 Second. Have you ever thought maybe right now someone's being born and someone's dying? Have you ever thought maybe right now someone's winning and someone's losing? Who are you now? Are you just gone? 1 second makes you think it can go wrong. Who are you now? Are you just gone? 1 second makes you think it can go wrong. Have you ever thought maybe right now someone's smiling and someone's crying? Have you ever thought maybe right now the world's full of love and full of hate? Who are you now? Are you just gone? 1 second makes you think it can go wrong. Who are you now? Are you just gone? 1 second makes you think it can go wrong. So that's 1 second. I tried to, imitate the piano in this final verse.
Right.
So
Well,
it is.
Well, Gilles, I thought that was amazing. I love the energy you brought to the show today, and I've listened to your
Thanks, man.
album several times this week, but I think now I appreciate it in a new light. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Zach. It's a pleasure for being here. Thanks for having me. And well, it was just awesome to meet you at the just another open mic event back in March. So it's great to meet new people. Thanks a lot, man.
No problem. Take care. So that was my interview with Gilles Sonsino. I think you saw what I meant about his personality. Such an enthusiastic person, even though this is only my fourth time meeting him, and actually only a first time talking directly with him because I'm in one of these big online open mics. There's not really space for anyone to talk to each other, but that went very well and makes me want to keep listening to the past, the present, and the future. It might sound like kind of a melancholy album at first, but once you see that it's more about that artistic mysticism, it's about slowly taking that artist desire out of your soul. I hope that doesn't sound too corny. I think you'll find the joy in it that Gilles and I found. Anyway, stay tuned for more of these interviews. I'm Zach Morgenstern, the silent co-host Ludwig von B. See you next time.